Hey, what is up, guys? Tyler here with Secure Team with a bit of news here that, well, to be honest, I really don't know what to make of it. Now, you may have seen this already. It's been featured on a couple of other channels, and those particular videos have racked up hundreds of thousands of views already. However, I do realize that there's millions of people online, and there's a good chance many of you haven't seen this, but basically what happened here is that Buzz Aldrin, who, if you don't know, is the extremely famous former Apollo 11 astronaut, one of the first two men to actually walk on the moon. Well, a couple of years back, he was doing an interview with this little girl who was asking questions about the moon and whatnot, and where at one certain point in that interview, he stated very clearly, or at least some say it was extremely clear, that we indeed did not go to the moon. Which, of course, has sparked the controversy that is happening around the web at this moment, with one side of the aisle saying, well, he just misspoke, and the other side of the aisle of those who believe that the moon landings were always faked and that we never indeed went to the moon. Well, they're saying, well, this is smoking gun evidence right here. He leaked it, he misspoke, he let it slip up, and well, here is the question that she asked and his famous, now controversial response.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened. And if it didn't happen, it's nice to know why it didn't happen, so in the future, if we want to keep doing something, we need to know why something stopped in the past that we wanted to keep it going.
Okay, so just a real quick pause right here. What you just heard and the response that Mr. Aldrin just gave is what is causing so much controversy right now on the interwebs. So the little girl asks him, why have we not been back to the moon? Which she was obviously coached to say, because that's a question we've been answering and, well, asking here on the channel for years. Why have we never been back? We had all of these successful missions, one after the other, and then boom, just nothingness. Completely stopped, the Apollo program decommissioned, and we've never been back to the moon. We haven't even been close to getting back to the moon. And so I think it was quite brilliant for this little girl to ask such a question. And just to repeat what he said here, after being asked why we'd never been back to the moon, he says, quote, "That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened. And if it didn't happen, it's nice to know why it didn't happen. So in the future, if we want to keep doing something, we need to know why something stopped in the past, that we wanted to keep it going." And so in those first few words of him saying, well, because we didn't go there, quote unquote. And so there you have it. That is what is causing many to believe that Mr. Aldrin has just, either by accident or on purpose, told the world that we never went to the moon. However, as the interview continues, and I'll show you just another small clip of this, Mr. Aldrin elaborates on why they haven't gone back to the moon. And, well, this kind of gives you a different picture as to whether, well, maybe he meant to say that we haven't gone back to the moon yet, and these are the reasons that we've not gone to the moon, and so on and so forth. So check that out.
Money is a good thing. If you want to buy new things, new rockets, instead of keep doing the same thing over, then it's going to cost more money. And other things need more money too. So having achieved what the president wanted us to do, and then what thousands, millions of people in America and millions of people around the world. You know, when we toured around the world after we came back, the most fascinating observation as we was signs that said, we did it. Not just us, not just America, but we, the world, different countries. They felt like they were part of what we were able to do. And that made us feel very good.
Okay, so this brings a little bit more insight into what is happening here. You have obviously an old man here, okay? He's well into his senior citizen twilight years. Just from listening to him, it seems that, there are times that you can see some strangeness in his behavior, sort of stumbling or on his words or thoughts, and maybe those words not coming out correctly or in the way that he wanted them to come out. But he makes it clear that why we haven't gone back to the moon, one of the biggest reasons is because of money. And because basically, which is true, NASA did not want to put any more money into going to the moon. In their eyes, we had already been there 6 different times, and so there was nothing more to do, at least according to NASA at that time, and the money could be spent better places. So there you have it, guys. And even with all of that said, and putting it more in context, there are many who still believe that he knew exactly what he was saying when he said, well, because we didn't go to the moon, that he knew exactly what he said, whether he accidentally let it slip out, and then during the rest of the interview, he was trying to cover his tracks, and then just continued on talking like they had gone to the moon. I don't know. The way I'm seeing it is that what he was saying just didn't come out correctly, and that what he was really saying was that we did not go to the moon because of money. Not that they had never gone to the moon. And, well, as many of you know, I am a firm believer that yes, indeed, we did go to the moon. There are, I know a lot of my viewers out there, a pretty large chunk of you are believers that we have never gone to the moon and that all 6 Apollo moon missions were faked. And that all of the hours and hours of video footage, film footage from those trips, the thousands upon thousands of photographs that were snapped during, on, and on the way back from each of one of those 6 trips are all faked in some Hollywood studio somewhere. And that, in fact, all the astronauts during each mission never really left Earth orbit. And believe me, I know where you guys are coming from because when I first started the channel, I also was a diehard moon landing denier. I did not believe it. I had watched all of the documentary films such as Bart Sibrel's A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon, and a number of other documentaries, most of the well-known documentaries that sort of go in to try to debunk the photographs and this and that. And, most of the so-called debunkings in those documentaries have actually long since been debunked themselves. And you can find those debunkings of those moon debunks on YouTube. There's other documentaries. And basically, like I said, you just have to have some common sense. You look at Apollo footage like this, when they're above the moon, when they're about to land on the moon, it's obviously the real moon that they're about to land on. This isn't just some small scale model of the moon made out of clay. You can obviously tell that this is real. They did not have the technology in the 1960s to fake something to make it look this real, and no less do it 6 times. And we'll just say that over the years, I have done enough research and I have looked at this to the point where the evidence swayed me in the opposite direction because it just wasn't making sense. And a lot of the things that they say they couldn't get to the moon because of the Van Allen radiation belts, things of that nature. Well, they in fact did go through the Van Allen radiation belts. They went to the moon and they planned them. They went around and through a very thin part of the radiation belts that was purposely planned so that they would take in the minimum amount of radiation. And I believe that the radiation amount that they did take in was several times lower than the amount needed to actually harm someone. So that wasn't a problem. And again, I could go on and on sort of debunking some of the things that they use to say that we didn't go to the moon. That is for another video. And really, there's much more in-depth documentaries out there that you guys can watch. So now, having said that, that is not to say that I don't believe that certain things were faked while they were on the moon, because I am a firm believer of that. there is without a doubt some video and photographic proof that do not match the rest of the legitimate film footage and photographs. As in, I believe that there were certain times when they were on the moon where they found something that they were not allowed to show to the public, and so they doctored some images. Whatever they didn't want us to see there, they would simply recreate those certain small areas of film, maybe down here on Earth in a studio, and then splice it back in with the rest of the thousands of hours of film footage and photographs, and no one would be the wiser. Now that I do believe, and there is proof in my opinion of that, but not that we just didn't go to the moon and that it was all faked. I'm sorry guys, the proof is there, we did go. But again, you guys tell me what you think about this interview. You know, this interview also brings to mind the interviews that were done by Neil Armstrong, who was also with Buzz Aldrin during the Apollo missions. Many have spoken about his strange behavior during the very first press conference when they had just gotten back from the moon, where all of the astronauts are stoned-faced, they don't look happy, they seem as if they're trying to hide something. And, you know, throughout the years, Mr. Armstrong very seldomly ever spoke or did interviews or spoke about the time that he went to the moon. He was a very private man, and some believe that that was because he felt guilt for lying about having gone to the moon when they actually didn't. Now, again, there's no proof of that, but on the other hand, if there was guilt, it didn't have to necessarily be that it was because they didn't go to the moon. It could have been because they did go, and what they saw there spooked them, or that they knew that there had been some faking going on because of what they found there, and maybe that was why the distancing and the privacy and the reasons for why Neil Armstrong sort of, you know, lived out the rest of his life not speaking about it. So it's a very tangled mess when it comes to the moon. I believe we've gone there and that there are things up there. And I'll go one step further. I believe that some of the Apollo moon missions, including some that we may have even had that weren't disclosed to the public, that may have been sent there to investigate some of these anomalous structures on the moon. But again, I've said that before, and that's for another video. So with that, tell me what you think. I will put the link to the original channel down below. Is it just a slip of the tongue, or is Buzz Aldrin just tired of keeping this secret? Be sure to share and subscribe on your way out. I really appreciate it. Stay tuned because I've got much more coming, and I'll see you all back in just a bit.